What's happening, everybody? It's Todd Wilson with Elevate Your Game. Today we have coach, trainer, developer, former player, former pro, Chad Bell. Welcome to the
What's
show.
up, man? Thanks for
Man,
having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. We got in contact by Deshaun Curtis, one of a hoop mastermind himself.
Shout out to Deshaun.
Yeah. Thank you, man, for connecting us. Man, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. Somebody of your caliber, with your playing experience, your coaching experience, man, to bless the people with the information. We always start the show off with the wall of hoop movies. What's your favorite hoop movie up there? If you could only pick one, maybe two, it's kind of tough. What's your favorite hoop movie and why?
Well, I gotta pick two. It's tough because if the audience out there can see the wall, it's tough. So I'm gonna go with Blue Chips.
Okay.
The reason why I started with Blue Chips, like that was like the movie. Like when I was growing up, you know, when I was growing up, it was different. Like we had dreams of going to college and
Right.
playing college ball. So I don't know if it's kind of changed, since everything is kind of different now. But that movie like really like showed like a story of like recruitment,
Yeah.
and it was so exciting, seeing that. I was a big Shaquille O'Neal fan growing up, and then they had Penny Hardaway on the movie, so that alone just intrigued me. And then I watched the movie, and just to see them go through the whole process with the storyline of the coach having that job, and the team was struggling, and he needed to bring in these high profile recruits, and he went, to different places to seek out the talent, and then it showed like the different side of basketball with, illegal payments and so on and so forth. I thought it just told, they put a lot of Hollywood in it.
For sure. For sure.
They had to do that, but it just told the story of like kind of what goes on, when it comes to, college basketball and recruitment, with a little bit of twist to it with the Hollywood. They had to put the extras on it. So
It almost gave the coaches, it feels like the coaches for today, the blueprint. Like for
right.
the ones who didn't know, it's like, yo, this is how you do it. Because you started to see that in college thereafter. It's like, you had some pretty mean teams come together. And I'm pretty sure it's loosely based on some true stories.
Yeah,
Some people,
no doubt.
some programs that we've seen. But it's happening in high school now, which is the crazy thing.
Yeah, man, that's crazy, man. Because like you have like the name likeness and images NLI now. So like literally that movie is like the NLI before it was what it was now. So now it's just crazy with the young men and the young women, what they're able to have at their grasp now with money and exposure and all that other
Pretty
stuff.
sure
So
you would have been getting paid at this point in Cali, right?
oh
with you.
man, I wish, man,
Right?
I wish we had that back then.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But everything happens for a reason. I think that I don't know what I would have did that young, having that at my grasp. You got to be very mature with especially when money's involved, so on and so forth. But I think my mom's would have.
Yeah,
Kind of
that.
like, hey, relax.
Absolutely.
So,
So any other blue chips is the one?
Blue Chips, and then I gotta go with He Got Game, man. He Got Game was just a special movie. Just watching that storyline because it was real.
Yeah.
Like, he's a young man, high school recruit, high profile. I think he was like the #1 player in the country, and then Ray Allen played that role, and that's why I like those movies. They got actual hoopers.
Yeah.
So Ray Allen played that role to a T to me, and then like Denzel Washington. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah,
like,
Ray Allen wasn't a polished actor
Yeah,
at the time, but
no
he
doubt.
was a hooper, and so he could do the hoop parts. But
no doubt.
they had to throw Denzel on there to make the
And it just set it off, and then I think was that a Spike Lee? Spike Lee did that one.
Spike Lee.
Yeah, and then Spike, Spike did his thing. So for them to do that movie, it was just dope because it told a real story. Young man who had some issues with his father, and they were battling that whole thing because what happened to his moms. Plus, he was being recruited. You know what I'm saying? So they were dealing with real life issues mixed in with the sport. he had all this attention, and then it went back to the other thing where he was getting recruited, being offered things, the girls, so on and so forth. So it was real, you know what I'm saying? Not just from real being with the basketball part, but also real, you know, with his life, what he was dealing with away from basketball, and it all coming together. So I thought those two movies was dope, and I can name some other ones up here, but we don't got a lot of time. So that's a really cool wall you got.
I think you bring up an interesting point how he's dealing with both sides of the game. And like for nowadays, it's what's called the mental health part, right?
Yeah.
He was dealing with some real mental health struggles with his relationship with his father. And
Real
so
talk.
that's interesting. Like that was a preview to what a lot of players are. We finally like have words put behind it and acknowledge the mental health and the emotional stability of a kid struggling to forgive his father. And he had to take care of his sister. Like he was a grown man at 17 with all this stuff, all this weight on his shoulders, and then his pops has to come back in his life, and he can save his pops from going back to jail by choosing a college. Like that pressure's put on these kids, not in that way exactly, but by these dads, these hoop dads now, who are putting pressure for them to perform and do these things. But that's a whole other story. I like that point. We're gonna have a whole discussion about He Got Game. The breakdown of He Got Game. So man, when did you fall in love with basketball?
Oh man, it was at a very young age, man. I would say I was about 4 or 5 years old. You know, I was raised by my moms, and we had this tiny little black and white TV in our apartment that we kept in the kitchen. And my mom, she was a big Laker fan, so I used to watch the games because my mom would have it on. So we would watch KCAL 9 watching the Laker games on this little black and white TV. And when I was growing up, it was like all about Magic Johnson. So when I saw him play, I was like, man, this is it. Like, you know, he was playing with so much passion, so much energy, and he was smiling. And he was a bigger dude. So I was like, man, I want to be like that. Yep. And then, of course, I saw Kareem, and my mom really did a great job of educating me on Kareem. Because at that time, he was older in his career. But she really educated me like on his time from UCLA and all the stuff he did. And she actually bought me a book about him. It was like an autobiography. I think it was called like Big Steps or Giant Steps, something like that. Sorry if I'm butchering that. But yeah, I read it. And I was like, wow, man, like he was so accomplished from the time he was, 14 years old. His career was incredible. So just, those little stories, and then, like big game James Worthy, you know what I'm saying? Byron Scott, who's, from Inglewood.
Showtime.
Yeah. So like that just made me really fall in love with the game. And from there, I was just, always having a basketball in my hand and doing that kind of thing. But the funny thing is I didn't play organized. I just played like at parks and
When did you start playing organized?
I really didn't get into playing organized till I was about like 12 years old. Okay. So it was kind of weird. Like I fell in love with this thing, but it was totally unscripted, totally just freelance.
That's the way to do it, I believe, though, because these kids this is the same thing. These kids get into so young, and they're coached right away instead of having fun. You fell in love with the process and just hooping, and you probably had some natural feel to the game because you had to learn it by playing with others rather than instruction. Yeah. I think that's the time for me. That's when I'm going for my kids. I'm like, no, I'm waiting. I didn't pick up a ball till I was 11, and so I was a late bloomer in the game. But I'm the one from all my friends who've been doing it. I'm the one who's kind of gone furthest with basketball and still sticking with it for my career and everything else because I had that passion. Like you said, it kind of just the homies across the street were playing,
right? And
so I just played with them, and then fell in love with it and played organized shortly after that. But I was 11 when I first picked up the ball. So
wow,
that's very similar in getting that. And so when you were in 12, did you join the local like rec center? Were you AAU? What'd you do?
So when I was about, I think it was like 11 or 12, I played for the first time at a place I call it, me and my friends, well, we call it the Mecca of LA, and those that are out there from LA, they're gonna know what I'm talking about. I played at Rancho Cienega Park.
Okay, yeah.
So this park was like, this is where it was at. So when I go into this environment, there was like so much competition, and it was intense, even though it was kids playing, and it was like I hopped out there, and I right away I knew the difference from just playing up at the park to playing organized ball, just like on the simple level of lining up at the free throw line, where I'm used to checking up after a foul.
Right.
So I never, my young little mind never went that far. So I had to like really learn the organized rules of the game and positioning, and I would try to dribble the ball up the court, and coach like, no, big fella, you got to go in the post. And for me, I was playing, up at middle schools, elementary schools, hopping the fence, going up to parks, playing it, and you just was a player.
Right.
It wasn't no position,
Like
yeah, yeah.
Right?
So I was like not knowing. I guess I was kind of before my time, so I had to kind of relearn some things.
But
yeah,
you watched Magic, so you thought that was normal for somebody. Hey, so.
Yeah, so I had to kind of, it was like starting all over again.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's how I started, and eventually I played for an AAU organization called Mere I Can. That was founded by Jim Brown, may he rest in peace, for a guy named Rock Johnson.
Okay.
So he took me in and put me on his team, and I was, by this time I was like, 13 years old, and I was playing with 15-year-olds. So, because that's what he had. He didn't have nothing younger. So, and then from there, I ended up playing for a guy named Thaddeus McGrew, who had a program that eventually transitioned to the name Top Prospects.
Okay, yeah.
And then that's kind of where my little young basketball career took off, where I was exposed, traveling to Vegas, traveling to Florida, traveling to Georgia, traveling all over the country, playing against the best players, and even back home playing in the Best of the West tournament, playing in all those Slammer Jam tournaments, those tournaments that were just during those times in the late 90s, early 2000s, that was just popping. So that's kind of how it went for me.
That's dope, man. I love these LA stories, man. Like, there's so much history in this basketball stuff.
Yeah.
The original program before AAU was on every corner.
Right.
Like, you actually had to be that dude, and the exposure nationally is nowhere on the level it is now because of social media and how quick you can get it. But the people who played on that were the ones who excelled going on to high school, college, and so forth. So
yeah, no doubt.
Attended Westchester in its prime, kind of, when Westchester was probably the last time it was really popping, really those early 2000s.
Yeah.
What was that experience like being at Westchester?
It was amazing, man. First of all, we had a tremendous coach in Ed Zim, and anybody that's played for Coach Zim knows that he's a really great teacher, and he's going to give you the fundamentals. He gave us, structure and discipline every single day. And to be honest, Coach never cared about how talented we was. He just wanted us to be better players each and every day, and even more importantly, just good people, good young men. That's what he cared above, winning championships and the exposure. He didn't care about any of that. And to be quite honest, it just happened.
It actually happened because he was focused on developing the person.
Yeah. So, but it was a tremendous experience for me. I went there and we just gained a ton of exposure, man. Same thing, playing all over the country, competing at a high level. And I think then, like, the competition in the LA area, Southern California in general, was so good that we all made each other better.
Yeah.
So it was nothing when we went on the national scene to compete, because it was a dogfight at the crib.
Every day.
So that's how it was, man. And we had every college coach you can think of in our gym, for practices and our games and so on and so forth. And that allowed all of us to get scholarship. I think my senior year, I believe the entire team ended up getting a scholarship.
Oh,
So,
how many seniors? All the seniors, or
well, not just when you account the seniors plus,
oh, everybody who played that
yeah,
senior year?
yeah,
Whoa,
yeah. So it
that's
was
tough.
it was amazing, man. It
That's
was,
tough. You don't hear about that a lot, but I know Westchester, then Fairfax.
yeah,
Um, this is a little later in the 2000s, but like Campbell Hall with the
yeah,
holidays, like everybody on the team was getting scholarships,
yeah,
regardless if they were the ninth, 10th man.
yeah,
They were going Division One, Division Two, pretty
yeah,
high level. It just
yeah.
lets you know how competitive it was and how selfless kids were too. They understood the process,
Oh yeah,
and they even made an impact on the college level, even though they weren't the man on their high school team. I think more kids need to see that. Like when you go, that's what happens at all these. They're called the NIBC schools now, right? The Oak Hill and the Sunrise, IMG. It's like even the 10th man is going to Ohio State. Like, like no, you're playing at such a high level, and where the work is, you said it. It's at home. It's at practice.
yeah,
You're playing against another Division One player every day in practice, or
yeah.
10 of them, and so that mindset, oh, I got to go somewhere and be the man. I think it takes away a little bit of that grind and that adversity that you face in high school to prepare you for that next level.
Oh yeah, I mean, I see both sides of it. To be honest, I think when you're in a situation kind of how I was, I just think that it kept you hungry. I mean, you never we never had days where you could just say, okay, I can relax because you always knew you had that guy behind you. That's a dog. That's like I'm trying to get it. I'm trying to take his spot. I'm trying to take his minutes.
Yeah.
So. I mean, we had to compete
Yeah.
every day, and it wasn't always pretty. We bumped heads a lot because you had a lot of young teenagers that was talented on one team. You only had one ball.
Yeah.
We all wore the same uniforms. So in that regard, it helped. We helped each other, and what it did was it prepared us to go out there and win,
Yeah.
and then it also prepared us for college. Um, but I also understand the other side. You got guys that go to lesser talented places, and they build up,
Yes.
and they get that confidence. So
True.
I
Yeah.
see that. I see that side too.
Yeah.
I think it all has to do with the guidance
Yes.
and the mentality of the person as well. So
No, that's
yeah.
important. What's your most memorable game experience in high school?
So many. I would have to go back to honestly my junior year. We had a team that wasn't expected to win the city title that year, and we just persevered, and we ended up beating Crenshaw in the city title. Um, I, I statistically it probably wasn't my best game, but it was my best high school game in my opinion in terms of how I impacted the game, and uh, and then we did it in the Forum.
Oh,
So
sweet.
where the Lakers used to play. So
Yeah.
that moment meant so much to me because going into that game, I'm like, I'm in the building that Magic played in. I'm in the building that Kareem played in. I'm in the building that Shaq played a few years in. And when we did it, I'm a kid who grew up in Inglewood. It was a special game for me, and to beat a program like Crenshaw,
Who
who
did they
had
have at the time?
Crenshaw had a guy at the time named Tommy Johnson, who was the City Player of the Year. He went on to play at San Diego State, and who's a good friend of mine. Another good friend of mine, E.J. Harris, who went on to play at Sacramento State. So they had some talent, on that team, and then they had a young point guard, Marcus Williams, who played at UConn and played in the NBA. So that program actually was a program that I admired, when I was coming up because we were what they were prior.
Right.
Crenshaw in the 80s and most of the 90s, they were a dominant team. So
Yeah.
and they had an excellent coach in Willie West, who was a pioneer in his own right in terms of bringing dominant basketball to the city, from that era. Obviously, prior to him, there were some schools I can name off too, but so it was just special.
No, that's awesome. So
Yeah.
from high school, you won a city title your junior year, senior year. What happened?
Senior year, we won another city title. We were top 5 in the country. We started the season unranked. We went to
I'm sorry. Who was on your team your senior year? I
so
want
my
people to understand the concept. I remember all this, but
so my senior year, I played with a guy by the name of Brandon Heath, who I believe is one of the all-time, if not he may be the all-time leader scorer in San Diego State school history, or he's somewhere up there. I played with a guy named Trevor Ariza, who, I mean, everybody knows him.
right.
Had a really good NBA career. Played with a guy named Hassan Adams, who was a high school All-American, Pac-12, all Pac-12 selection. Played with a guy, Shanti Cook, was a Big East point guard, and another guy named Brandon Bowman. He was an all Big East selection. I played with a guy named Keith Everidge, who played at Cal State Northridge. Scott Cutley. And then and we had a guy on our team, and at the time, this to tell you how crazy Westchester was, Bobby Brown. I mean, like these hoopers, and everybody knows him. So Bobby Brown, he actually was a JV player, and he moved up at the end of the season. But Westchester was so loaded then that a guy like Bobby Brown was not a full-time varsity player, which is insane to think of. And mind you, he had a growth spurt, so on and so forth, but he still was talented. Yeah. In any other normal situation, Bobby Brown, he plays 3 years varsity, easily a 2-year starter, easily, because he was that, even though he was smaller then, he was still that talented.
Right.
It wasn't never a lack of talent. And the reason, and it wasn't his talent that kept him.
Seniority.
It was like,
player, so
if he plays, this senior we have literally might not get a scholarship, and he's going to be a scholarship player. So it was just crazy, man. It was a crazy time.
Why did you guys start the season unranked? Is what I want to know. That's wow.
You know what? I have no idea, but it fueled us. I'm thankful for it now, but it pissed us off. We went to the tournament in Florida in Fort Myers, and they made us play in a playing game. we literally played a playing game for the tournament, and we felt so disrespected. Yeah. And we just ran through everybody. And I think the first game we played a Florida team, they were like one of the top 5 teams in the state. We blew them out. Then the next game we played a team from Kentucky. They were top 15 in the country. We beat them pretty good. And then we played another team that was top something. We beat them pretty good. And then we played a team, St. Raymond's from the Bronx in New York, who had Julius Hodge, who's a good friend of mine. Shout out to Jules, man. I always remind him of this on social media. So we played them in the championship game, and they were super good, super talented. It went down to the wire, and we ended up beating them.
Nationally ranked after that game.
Yeah. So long story short, we come home, and we're really not even thinking about it. We were pissed off prior to the tournament, but we never stopped to say, hey, I wonder if we ranked now. I never forget, I went to school, and one of our assistant coach pulls out the USA Today, and we were ranked like, I think, 7th or 8th.
Wow.
Yeah, so we went from unranked to top 10. And then we kept winning, and I think we got as high as 3. And, we ended up getting upset in the state tournament by Corona Centennial. By my good friend Jamal Williams, who's an assistant coach at UNLV. Shout out to J-Dub.
Those are some good teams from Corona. So I remember him just dunking on everybody all the time.
Yeah, he was a man child.
Who was their point guard? Reese. Reese.
Yeah.
Cold team.
Yeah, really good team.
Oh, man. And so going on to college. So started at University of New Mexico.
Yeah. I started at the University of New Mexico playing for a guy named Fran Fraschilla. Who's all over ESPN. It went really well, man. I was really excited. I wanted to go. I was highly recruited, but I wanted to go to a place where I felt like I could make an impact right away. So I had an excellent opportunity there, starting as a freshman, having those ups and downs as a freshman, learning the game. And from there, Fran was let go, and I ended up staying for a year. and decided that I wanted a different situation. And then I went on to the University of Nevada and sat out, and we had some really good teams. We won uh, a few conference championships while I was there. Had a Sweet 16 run my first year there. The my final 2 years, we went to the tournament every year. It was just a really good time. It was like a solid program, and it just kind of ascended. Yeah.
Do you think you learned the best principles that you kind of carry on to your coaching from college? What were your experiences? I want to say give me like the top three principles that you learned in a college experience that you carry over now into your coaching.
Well, number one is time management. You got to manage your time. When you're in college, you're a young adult, so you have all this quote unquote freedom, but you got to make the right decisions. So for me, was just managing my time. You got class, you got practice, you got workouts, you got weights, and then in between, and around this stuff, you got this quote unquote free time. So you got to just make sure you handle your business. So my number one thing was time management, and then from there I would say discipline, because it's easy to kind of drift off when you're young, you're still growing as a person. So just being disciplined on what I'm doing every day, showing that discipline. Okay, I got to do the same thing every day, and I can't miss a day and then expect to have great results.
Yeah.
So just staying disciplined. And then I would say probably building relationships. I think for me in my life personally, the relationships that I've built are the reason why I've gotten through doors, because I've have a pretty good network, and you can go all the way back to high school, all through college. I've kept in contact with people and built solid relationships, and like the relationships that I've built in college, like those guys that I played with, like they're like my friends to this day. Like it's like a brotherhood. So I think those three things banded together is like, for me, it's a solid foundation.
That's awesome. I think those relationships that you create are super important when the ball stops bouncing on the court actively, at least, to transition to that next part. And I know that's a big part of why you chose to coach early. So after college, you transitioned. You played in the D League, then now the G League,
Yeah.
and overseas a little bit. How long was that your pro playing career, and what was the adversity that you faced playing pro?
I did about 4 years. The adversity, first of all, like playing ball it's just fun, but it's an uncertainty there especially once you get to that professional level. If you're not like this guy that has this storied career and you're a draft pick and so on and so forth, so just not knowing what my next situation was. That was something that was a challenge, but it was fun, man. Like playing in then the development league, a lot of good talent. I mean, people think like, oh, development league, those guys aren't that good. But when you look at it, especially back then, I'm playing against guys that I saw do really well in their college careers, right, that were on the cusp of making it to the league that just didn't make it or was going to make it. So, it wasn't easy, but it was fun, because you're still in that NBA setting and how they're teaching, how they're coaching, how they're, having some exposure. You still got scouts at those games. So it was really fun, but it was challenging because, you're fighting for your livelihood. It's no longer when you get to become a professional, you're fighting for your life. Like you're fighting to feed yourself. Right. That's the challenge. So
what was the D League salary back then?
Oh man, I want to say they had the 3 levels, and I want to say the lowest was like 18 a season. the mid level was like 20,000, and then I think the top was like 25,
Oh my
something
gosh.
like that.
To be a pro
Yeah,
player
to be
making
a pro.
25K
Yeah,
at the
it's
top of the
crazy.
league is so wild. I mean,
Yeah,
kids literally make that on NIL in high school now.
yeah,
Like, that's so
yeah.
wild, man.
So it was
Thank God it
wild.
grew in TV deals and the development of the development league itself. That's
Man,
wild.
we
What country?
definitely wasn't doing it for the money.
Right, right. No, you said you had fun. Like there's a love and a passion you have for the game. And I think that investment into the game is paying you back now with
Mm.
where you are now. And so you transition from playing into coaching. So that uncertainty kind of triggered that for you. What was that process like for you?
Well, I had just wrapped up playing over in Europe, playing in Romania, and I could have kept going. I had offers on the table to play in different places, but my wheels started turning, where I felt like I really enjoy playing. I still got my body. I'm cool. I don't really got no major injuries or like nothing like that. Um, and I would every now and again from my coaches that I played for in college, they would hit me like, "Hey, Chad, you ever thought about coaching?"
Hmm.
And at first it was kind of like, I don't know, like coaching. And I never forget, I got a phone call, and my guy was like, "Chad, you really should think about it. Like, you got the personality for it. You know what I mean? Like, the guys will respect you. Just think about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't got to do it now. You can keep playing." And I just said, you know what? I'm, in my late 20s now. Let me really think about trying this out. And kind of get a jump on things. So I did that. I hit up, people once again, my relationships through my network, and my man had an opportunity for me, and I started my first year in 2010 at the University of Wyoming as a grad assistant.
Okay.
So that's how I got started in coaching, and I've been doing it ever since, and I love it. And I do miss playing, but every now and again I'll hoop. I'll go hit a run or something, but.
Right, right.
But
Hey, listen, we need a big on Tuesday nights if you want to come out to the valley.
okay. For
You don't
sure.
got to play big. You can bring the ball up. We don't even
For
care.
sure, for sure, for sure.
So Wyoming as a GA, what was your progression? Because you made it to the pro level. So what was after the GA year?
Okay, so from there I did that, and then I moved on to the University of Nevada, my alma mater, where I worked for David Carter, who was, when I was a player, he was an assistant, and then he became the head coach. So he gave me an opportunity to go over there to be the director of basketball operations. And I did that, was able to get under him, get back on campus where I played at, be around that community, and help that team, help those guys the best I can. And then from there, I was afforded an opportunity to be an assistant coach um, at Southern Utah University.
Okay.
So I was at Southern Utah University as an assistant coach for 3 years, where I did everything from recruiting to running our defense to doing player development stuff. I was always on the road recruiting. If not, I was there helping with scouting reports, whatever. So I was there, and in coaching, it's still that uncertainty that I talked about.
Yeah.
So, but at this point, this is what I do, so I embraced it. And we coaches out there, and coaches will understand this. We work to get fired. Yeah, it's going to happen. I don't care.
Yeah.
It's special cases where guys don't, but unfortunately, we got let go because of wins and losses. And I came back home, and I said to myself, like, I want to do something. I really want to make that jump because I always wanted to work in the NBA. So.
I have a question before we move on to the NBA, because I think this is important, because we hear this a lot, right? Especially with the transfer portal and hearing the coaching side of the game.
Mm.
You see coaches build up these smaller programs, win, and then get out.
Right.
And they're like, how can you make that decision when you've done that? But like you said, eventually you're going to get fired.
Mm-hmm.
It does not matter if you have one bad season. It's not like back in the day where Wooden had 8 losing seasons before he won 10 championships.
Yeah, that don't happen.
And so, what is that? When do you know it's the right time to jump from a college perspective, or to to take the next job? Is it like a year after year type?
I think you just got to analyze where you at. I think at the college level, it's so much going on. How's your relationship with the athletic director? Is it a new athletic director? Do you think that they want to bring in somebody that they actually hired? Did they hire you?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And then I hate to say it, but it's real. The money.
Yeah.
Like, we don't want to say that, but it's real.
Yeah.
Like the money. If the money's right, does it work for you and your family? Because coaches are humans too. I mean, coaches got families.
Yes.
So at the end of the day, you want to set up your family and have some type of legacy. So sometimes that can happen where, guys move on quickly and they get a better opportunity in terms of being able to expand their finances.
Yeah.
And, the coaches, like, there's no guarantees. So some people might say, oh, well, he's just doing it for the money. They're not, but they are as well, because they're taking care of themselves, because you never know what can happen because there's so much uncertainty. And I just think it's based on the situation. You take a guy like Mark Few at Gonzaga, who I'm pretty sure I'm not for sure, but I'm guessing. I will take a wild guess and say he's had a lot of chances to leave that program,
Right.
but he stayed and built it, and now they're a powerhouse.
Yeah.
So one might say way back when, maybe in his fourth or fifth year, you making these tournament runs and you winning conference titles. Why don't you leave and go to the bigger school? Yeah. And he said, no, I'm gonna chill right here and make it what it is. So now, whenever he decides to retire, that's a very attractive job that he created. Yes. But it probably always was situational for him. I don't know. I don't know Mark that well, but I'm just giving an example for the sake of a conversation.
That's a great
point. What I'm saying?
No, I like that perspective. And
yeah.
To see in both sides of it, and you said it, like, it comes down to people taking care of their families. This is the way you make a living and not just live,
Yeah.
And so it's important for people to hear that on both sides, for future coaches who are in the game and for the kids who are being recruited by these coaches as well. To understand that, this is how you make your livelihood. So
yeah, no doubt.
All right, so you transition, so you make the decision that you want to coach at the highest level. How did you come about that opportunity, and what happened from there?
Well, a long story short, we had there was a guy that worked with the LA Clippers. His name was John Welch, who I'm pretty cool with, who's I believe he's at the University of Kentucky. I'm not for sure right now. Who's really good, really known in the business. He had just took the job with the LA Clippers, and he was looking for a player development guy, preferably a bigger guy. And I had some other contacts with the team prior to him being hired, and I was in contact with them about joining their player development. So I was already in the process of trying to, join their player development staff based on who might get the job. And fortunately, I was connected to him. And plus, with my prior connections, the two worlds met, and he brought me in and hired me, and I was with the organization for 7 seasons, and learned a ton. Learned a ton under some good coaches. Learned from some good players. Helped some good players. Serviced some good players, and being able to make that jump was awesome for me. Being at the highest level, being able to see different things, and being able to say, like, I'm very blessed. I've seen the best of high school basketball, the best of college, overseas, NBA. I've seen everything. AAU, I've seen everything. So
no, I think
it was
sounds
awesome.
Like you had really good coaches growing up the whole way through too, and then worked for good coaches in the league, and so I think that bodes well for your trajectory. You see it with the coaches now, like the people who had good coaches that they played for or worked under. It for you have a lot of knowledge, and you get to make it your own. And what's important, I think, for you is that you were a big man, and so understanding that position,
Hmm.
how that position's changed because you've been developing this, more new, less back to the basket type style big that the NBA has, and so you're able to see the game from a different lens than most people. And
Hmm.
so, what would you say has really been your focus with player development at the professional level? What do you think is important for people to know who are developing those guys?
Well, basketball has advanced and it's evolved and it's advanced. So, my whole thing is you got to be a player. And what I mean by that is you got to be able to, dribble the ball, pass the ball, shoot the ball, catch, finish. You got to be able to have your basic fundamentals. I think that a lot of people try to complicate it sometimes, but it's just that. If you can get your basic core principles and build on those and get them to a high level, you can play the game. And in the NBA, those are the guys that are successful. The guys that can dribble, pass, and shoot.
Man,
And for me, as a big guy, I like defense. I
yes.
like guys that take pride in the defense on the defensive end as well. So for me, in terms of player development, I really harp on the basic fundamentals of that, each and every day.
Awesome. And so, what was the biggest jump that you've seen development wise in a player, and what were they doing? What you were teaching, I'm sure you have a curriculum or a system that you teach within the team that develops players. Who had the biggest jump while you were developing them, and why was there such a big jump?
Um, I think I witnessed a lot of guys make huge jumps, but one person in particular that I worked with was Ivica Zubac. He was a guy when we got him a young big in the league with a ton of upside, and coming in, he had things that he needed to build upon to help himself become a full time starter, and he did those things, and it's certain things that are premium for bigs in the league, and just how the game is played. Like we all know, offensively in the NBA, you're going to see what every night, pick and roll.
Yeah.
So somebody got to set that screen. So something that's simple, with the big in the league, learn how to set a screen.
Yeah.
Somebody might say, "Well, oh, that's easy." No, you have to set a screen the right way, because obviously the game is have a lot of really good scores, and they need screen set. So you got to understand and learn what a guy wants, how he likes to come off screens, and I think that that's something that a guy like Zubac has really gotten good at, setting screens, um, and having opportunities for the team to score, and rolling to the basket and
Right. Right.
finishing.
It makes you open when you
Yeah,
set good screens. It gives him
exactly,
opportunities.
exactly. So I think that once he figured out, the things that are a premium for him, I think he really like took off and became a full time starter and was really disruptive and really a presence on the defensive end, for that team. So it was a joy, watching him, take off with his skills and his career. And I mean, he still got even higher heights to reach.
Right. Yeah.
If he keeps
Scratching the surface.
working, because he's only in his mid 20s.
Man.
We started together. He was in his early 20s, and he hasn't even gotten into um, his prime yet. So it can be real scary, as
Yeah.
he adds other tools to his game. So
What was it about his personality or his demeanor, character that helped him learn and develop? What
I,
did you see in him?
I just think his maturity, like it's different for a guy like him. He left his home when he was 13, 14 years old, uh, to move away and go to school to focus on school and basketball. And really, like, you're kind of like you are really, you're a professional at a young age.
Yeah.
So there's still some youth there because he was young, but like he definitely knew how to handle himself, and you're able to coach him hard, and he receives it, and he he was very determined in wanting to get himself and position himself where he can help the team and be a starter.
What are three things that a future NBA coach needs to know about being in player development, assistant coaching, that you think are vital for their growth and development?
Three things I'll say. Well, number one, be willing to listen. I think that if you come in with a mindset that you're gonna listen, if you're gonna listen, you're gonna learn. Because I mean, I'll tell you, like, if you work for an NBA team, if you look on that staff, you always gonna have former head coaches, you're gonna have former players. So one of the things I like to do with those guys is just have conversation, just to kind of get a better insight on how they think. You know what I'm saying? So uh, I would say just be willing to listen and basically be a sponge, and soak up that stuff and soak up that knowledge. And then from there, be serviceable. Come in. I always tell people, coaches, uh, like a lot of people look at coaches like, oh, these are experts and they know everything. They know a lot, but I'll tell you, I learn from anybody. I can learn from a elementary school coach. I learn. I don't know it all. I know some stuff because I've been exposed, but um, just come into it being able to service the players, because that's what coaches are. We service players. I don't like the whole idea where you have guys say, well, that was my guy, and don't take credit. You know what I'm saying, for something. The player still got to do it. You service that player and you service them the best they can to help them go. Like, just think for yourself, if you had somebody that was 100% all about you, it takes your game further. If to me, that's the satisfaction I get out of coaching, that I service somebody and it helped them. And if it helped them make money, I'm even more happier. Because look, now they taking care of their family. Now they can that's a legacy play. You know what I'm saying? And then I always believe that the way God works, He gonna look after you for doing what you did for that person, for that player. So come into it with that, and then thirdly, don't be afraid to try stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody has the exact antidote. But I will say this: don't try to reinvent the wheel, though. I see a lot of I see a lot of silly stuff too.
Well, give me an example of that. And it's joking because we see a lot of stuff in the development game. But give me an example of this part you cannot reinvent. This is what it is. What are some of those things that?
Well, I can't give you an exact, but what I can give you an example of, if you're coaching or working out and it doesn't translate to basketball, just stop that. It always, one thing I always ask myself, does this make sense for basketball?
Yes.
All right. Yes, it does. Okay. How do I convey this to Todd so that he understands? Because now I got to start thinking about, it makes sense for basketball, but you learn differently. Todd learns differently from Jason or Kevin or Lisa or whoever. Oh, his learning style is like this. Okay, he likes visual, so let me show him visual.
Yes.
Now, can we go out and do it?
Yes.
Boom, you can do it. Now, she may not learn like that. How does she learn? Now it makes sense.
Yep.
Now, if I give you something that doesn't translate for basketball, now I'm hurting you as a player. I'm not helping you. And I think that's why I say don't try to reinvent the wheel, but also think outside the box. Like, if you're an assistant coach and you work for a head coach and you got an idea, don't sit on the idea.
Yes.
Give it to the coach. Now, if he or she does not use it, don't take it personal.
Right.
They still got to make a decision. You gave them an option. And sometimes what happens is that coach comes back to it, and you see,
yes.
Or you might find yourself in a game situation where your idea could have helped win a game and you didn't say anything. You know what I'm saying? So give ideas and don't be afraid to think outside the box.
Sounds like faith. Having faith in yourself.
Exactly.
Making that step of faith.
Exactly. Like look at everybody talks about small ball now, right? Yeah. Somebody had to say, "Oh, I got an idea. Let's play small." Right. Now as a big guy, I hate it.
Right.
But somebody said, "Let's play small." Yeah. And they won.
Yeah.
I like this year's NBA champion. They were pretty big.
Yeah, they were.
Now somebody said, "Hey, let's play big."
I've never seen Aaron Gordon was so impressive to me. All the duck ins. He's stepping down into the post and just taking what he like. This is what y'all gonna give me. I'm gonna take it every single time and punish y'all. And I think he was a big piece of that. Just like you saying, taking advantage and keeping basketball simple. It was very simple plays.
Simple.
Jamal Murray was definitely flashy. Had something to his game, but even the stuff he was doing was very simple at the end of the day. So so you got to work for some great coaches at your time with the Clippers. Mm-hmm. What's the I'm saying the most valuable thing that you learned from Doc and the most valuable thing you learned from Ty Lue? Those are the only two coaches you worked with, correct?
Yeah. One of the most valuable things that I learned from Doc, so many. I mean, he has, and I actually hit on one of them, is not being afraid to try stuff. That's one thing he would always talk to us about. Formulate your ideas. He would. I had a conversation with him one time, and he said, watch. When you watch stuff and you see stuff that you like, write it down. And keep that with you, because it adds to the way you think. As a coach, it adds to who you are as a coach. You know what I'm saying? So that's one thing I learned from Doc and from Todd. I've learned he always talks about doing things the right way. Like he always talks about you can't cheat this game, and there's no shortcuts. So and that's very valuable because sometimes we live in a fast-paced society driven by technology. Well, basketball is still just basketball, even though we got certain things around it, and there's no shortcut to it. You gotta do the work, and you gotta do it every day, and you gotta do it the right way. It ain't no shortcut. So,
100%. Love it. No, that's two valuable things that we try to teach definitely on the youth development level, and you hear it all the way up to the pros. It wasn't like, oh no, you got to perfect your step back or something crazy. It was a very fundamental thing that carries you almost through life. Those things are definitely, you could apply them through life. So for you now, you're still trying to coach in the league and continue with your career there. What else are you doing outside of your actual career as a coach? To bring enrichment to the game.
Well, one thing about me, I'm huge on influencing the youth in a positive way. So I coach my son's recreation team in the summer times, and I have a whole lot of fun with that. So I just been inspired, watching my son. He's 7 years old, watching him grow. And my daughter, she's 4 years old, just being around them, watching them and just being around kids.
Side note, we're going to start a girls AAU team. My daughter's 4 too, so.
Oh, yeah. We'll talk about that off camera. So, I just, it's something about during COVID, during shutdown, I got to reassess my life and the stuff that I wanted to do outside of what I did with coaching, and I was just drawn to the youth. Like, how can I help in any kind of way I can help and inspire? So what I did is I started a podcast called Time Out with Chad Bell, and I just bring in people from the sports world, former athletes, coaches, agents, whoever, and we just talk about their journey. And it's with the intent of educating the youth on how and the things that they need to do every day. And we focus on things of everyday practice and any way to inspire and encourage. And one thing we really like to hit on, I'm not I'm not one to just talk about my success. I want you to know about my failures.
Yes.
I want you to know where I screwed up at and what not to do. And I won't go into any detail, but like we see athletes, they're human, and I think that the youth need to understand that. You know, you're gonna make a mistake, but what do you do after that mistake?
How you respond to it.
You know what I'm saying? And then keep that with you, and you pass that lesson on to the people behind you. So I'm huge with the youth. You know, I got a heartbeat for them, and I believe that they're the generation. We got to help them any way we can. So I make myself available.
Awesome,
Yeah.
awesome. And we'll make sure, how can people listen and tap into your podcast?
Well, my podcast is Time Out with Chad Bell. I'm on all platforms. I'm on Spotify. I'm on Apple. I'm on YouTube. Once again, it's Time Out with Chad Bell. And then I also have brief, everyday kind of inspirations that I do on TikTok. Time Out with Chad Bell on TikTok. And then you can also follow me on Twitter, Coach C Bell, and then on Instagram, Coach C Bell as well. So
Awesome.
that's how you
We'll
find
make sure
me.
y'all have all that in the description and put some links to all that to your stuff. I'm definitely gonna check it out.
Thank you.
And all right, so it's a segment in our show. It's called My Rushmore. My Rushmore. Okay, so it's your Mount Rushmore, your top 4. What?
I'm gonna go, and it could be anything.
It could be anything.
uh, Sports related.
It could be any. We might just open it up with you because everybody keeps asking that. So top 4 anything. Let's open it up.
Okay, I'm gonna just go my top 4 music artists.
This is the hit. I think we're gonna roll with this. So we had Matt Barnes on the show last week, and
Okay.
this is what he top 4 rappers of all time. So you said musical artists, so we
Yeah.
open up to every genre.
Every genre.
All right. So who's your top 4?
In not any particular order.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go John Coltrane.
Okay.
All right, jazz musician. I got exposed to him my first year at college.
Wow.
And I just thought his music was smooth. It was cool, and believe it or not, sometime like even this morning, I didn't want to just do regular cardio, just run. I put some Coltrane on and just got some shots up,
Nice, okay.
and it was smooth.
I
So
like that.
then I'm gonna go Michael Jackson. I mean, like he's like my childhood. I'm pretty sure we were around the same age, so you understand. So he was everything, and I'm gonna go Tupac. Tupac was like, you know, he was it. You know, I was a huge. Still to this day, I listen to Tupac. So he was.
Did you see the new documentary, The Dear Mama?
Yeah, I saw that. That was it. That was
The best
incredible.
documentary. I know there's
Yeah.
a bunch that came out. People go watch Dear
Yeah.
Mama. That
Go
thing
check that out.
It's different. You give a real perspective of
Yeah,
Tupac and his journey, man.
yeah, no doubt. And then I'm gonna go Stevie Wonder. Like
You got an old soul. I love it.
Stevie Wonder. I mean, his music is just so like Michael's, just so positive. You know, it's just a special feeling when I listen to his music. Like when I want to feel up, when I want to feel good. You know, I'm in the car, I put that sunroof, push that sunroof back, and then I put on some Stevie, man. You know,
You like the peaceful thing.
Yeah.
It's not Tupac.
Yeah.
Little turned up, but you gotta have it in your West Coast
Yeah,
too. So
yeah. So
Man,
I just want to give a variety.
yeah, and I like that. For me, man, mine are more of a nostalgic feeling. I think.
Yeah.
So not in any order. DJ Quick.
Oh,
So DJ
That's-
Quick for me, man.
shout out to Quick,
My
man.
cousin introduced him to me when I was 11. It's actually when I moved to Corona.
Mm.
And man, I just like everything Quick. He actually has an album coming out. People probably don't even know that because he's so old now, you know, for this generation. But man, Quick, just his beats. You talk about like just the whatever he did with his
It's funky, man.
composition. Yeah, the funk in it, man, and I realized that his lyrics were not that good. I talk to kids, hey, stop listening to that stupid stuff, and I'll listen to Quick. And I'm like, oh, I listen to that stupid stuff too, but I'll still listen to it though. Yeah, Quick. And then my wife hates this. It's actually a group, but I'm gonna do it since we're doing. I think the group.
Yeah.
Man, I'm a big fan of Day 26. They only had 2
Okay.
albums. I know, making the fan with D.
I never heard nobody say that.
Nobody says that. So, I make this argument they're the best R&B group ever. Argue with me. I know there's Drew Hill, 112, whatever. Listen, Day 26 for me. So they on My Rushmore. Babe, that's for you.
Hey, it's my Rushmore. Exactly.
So, yeah. Third, I'm going to have to go. Man, I got to really think about. It's actually Andy Mineo. He's a Christian rapper.
Okay.
And so he's a white boy, but man, I can listen to his stuff all day too. I try to change it too, where I'm not listening too much content that I'm not about. And so Andy Mineo, for whatever reason, I really connected with his music and the stuff that he was speaking about. Just from a spiritual journey for me, being a Christian, and he's dealing with the same stuff at the same time it's happened in my life. Getting married, having kids, and my frustration with the I want to say the church, the actual church versus spirituality of the relationship with God and all that kind of stuff. So Andy Mineo, and this last one, man, this is tough. This is tough because I listen to some good stuff, man. It's probably Drake. I
respect
and
it.
So, I'm around kids. I coach kids mostly. So that's as connected as I can be with them and not listening to this new trash they listening to.
Yeah.
So we can rest on Drake during a workout session. We'll put the Drake on. The same thing. Just feel his flow, how his style, how he does stuff.
His album catalog is insane. It's just crazy.
He just announced he's coming out with a new one.
Oh man.
So we ready for that, Drake?
Yeah, we ready for sure.
But yeah, if I had to roll out and just listen to 4 artists, I think I got a little bit of everything for me. But your 4 were amazing. Real talk, you went. Michael Jackson, that's tough with Michael Jackson, but I feel like I can listen to Drake and get a little Michael feeling.
Yeah, I mean he's like the Michael Jackson of his time.
Yeah.
I know it might sound crazy. That might be what do they call it, a hot take?
Yeah,
but I don't think it is because he's like, he's that dude, like for real.
All right, so let's do another My Rushmore. The Mount Rushmore, your top 4 shoes of all time. Hoop shoes?
No, I'm gonna go sneakers.
Sneakers.
Yeah.
Top 4 sneakers of all time.
I'm gonna start off. I'm gonna keep it basic. Air Force Ones. You cannot go wrong with a pair of Air Force Ones.
Oh no, man! The older I got, man, they start hurting the bottom of my feet when I walk.
Oh,
I gotta change.
You need some insoles.
Yeah.
That's that old man life.
All right, so the Forces.
So the Forces, and then I'm gonna go with probably for me the Jordan 1 Lows. I really like those shoes. And then my other Mount Rushmore is probably the Penny Foam Posits.
Okay, yeah.
I love those shoes. Like, those shoes are like, they mean a lot to me. And then 4th, I'm going to go with, you can tell I'm a Nike guy. I'm going to go back to Jordan. It's the Jordan 11s. But I like the Jordan 11s mids, but the older I get, I like the lows. So that's my top 4.
Okay, so my 4, I'm gonna start with the 11 lows.
Okay.
The mids started hurting my feet too, and this is with insoles for whatever reason. So the 11 lows are my favorite shoes to rock.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'm going to have to go with. I'm trying to think. Ooh. Man, my closet is just full of Jordans. I ain't gonna front. I'm going to have to go with the Jordan 10s.
Like those.
The Jordan 10s.
Those are comfy.
I actually like all the colorways. Mad
comfortable.
And,
oh my goodness.
Yeah, so for me, I like heavier shoes to hoop in too. So.
Oh yeah.
And then actually the LeBron Soldier 3s.
Okay.
Just the Velcro strap. I like not lacing my shoes up for whatever reason and hooping in them.
Yeah.
But those are probably when I hoop in those, I feel like Bron. So.
With the vertical?
With the oh yeah. Sometimes.
Okay.
This LeBron, so not the 47, like 40-inch version. Yeah. And then my last ones, I'm gonna have to go. Trying to think what I really would rock. They have to be sneakers.
No, they don't gotta be.
Okay, so man, these right here. Don't put my foot in the camera, but these canes, boy.
I got some of those.
These right here.
Yeah, save your life.
Shoes. And they're like, Kane, listen, you might as well hook me up with the endorsement now.
They save your life.
Shout out to Chris Johnson for connecting me with these ones. But man, these canes, you talk about comfort, recovery. You know, I wouldn't wear Crocs but I wear these canes. Just my foot feels. So as you get older in your 30s, you use some canes. And,
can't go wrong.
No, these are my joints right now. So yeah, those are my four, man.
No doubt, no doubt.
And then this last segment of our show we call Flip the Script.
Okay.
So you're interviewing me now. 2 questions you can ask me about anything. 2 questions that you have for me.
First question, who would be your number one, like, if you can have as a guest, like you would love to have as a guest?
I would love to have Vince Carter.
Ooh,
He is my favorite player. He's my favorite player of all time. Just from, once again, this is a Todd thing. I'm not saying he's the best of all time. He's my favorite player of all time. I've been blessed to meet a lot of NBA players, and so he's one I haven't met and who I grew up just loving, and just want to talk about his journey, man. Playing for 21 years in the league and playing 2 years in college before going out when he really didn't have to, but he did. And how do you jump over a 7-footer? Like just connecting with him, man, and you know, kind of. I met Will Smith, so I spoke this thing into existence. A few years ago, I went to a J. Cole concert. Shouts out DJ Dummy. I got backstage passes.
Okay.
And so Jaden Smith was opening up for J. Cole.
Okay.
And I kept saying it because it was like 2 months before we went. I said, Will Smith's going to be there to watch his son. I kept telling that to my wife. And she was like, no, he's not. No, he's not. My watch. I'm going to meet Will Smith that night. Sure enough, Will Smith comes.
Oh, man.
The extra verse he did on the Jaden song. And so as soon as he's done, I'll run backstage. I'm like, I'm gonna catch him back here. And ran into him, got a picture.
Oh, that's dope.
Super dope. Get to meet Will Smith. That's the whole Fresh Prince thing.
Okay.
That's Will Smith is my childhood for me. And so I'm speaking this Vince Carter thing too. So Vince Carter.
Okay. What's something in terms of basketball that you really want to do but you haven't done yet?
Oh man.
That you like aspire to do that you know it's going to be a reality, but you just haven't done it yet.
That's a really good question because I know the answer. I don't know if I'm supposed to share it because it's a deep vision that I have often.
Okay.
That I feel is from God, and I'll say this: I just want to be one of the most impactful people in basketball that nobody knows about. I want to be an advocate for the players and coaches wherever they're at, so they can be the best version of themselves, so we can be in this together. I think at the highest levels, there's a lot of camaraderie in basketball, but on the lower levels, it's separated. And so I created this show to be that impactful person. Like, you got a podcast too. You're in player development too. Man, we supposed to be working together.
Yeah.
And in Southern California, there's a lot of this. Everybody wants to do their own thing. Everybody wants to be the man. They want this attention on them and not on what they're doing. And so I want to show them, like, hey, you can do this. We can do this together. Like, just because I'm eating doesn't mean you can't eat too.
Right.
And so that's my vision, is to be that impactful person who kind of is this glue to the smaller communities of basketball for the bigger picture for everybody.
I like that. And I like the whole idea of like being known but unknown. Yeah. You know, that's my vibe. You know, like I always tell people, I don't want to be famous.
I'm doing this because somebody spoke this into existence for me. Is that, hey, man, you need to be a speaker. You need to share your information and all this. And I'm like, okay, if I am, I'm not gonna make it about me.
Right.
I'm gonna make it about other people because I it's not me. It's just not me. I don't want to be all in the camera dancing in the music video. That's not my thing. So I love highlighting other people and what they're doing because this is what inspires me. And so it actually brings me to our last question before we close. So you've been blessed to be around a bunch of amazing people, inspiring, encouraging, high level people, and then you have them on your podcast as well. What's your favorite quote, and how has it impacted you?
Just in general, like any quote.
Any quote. Quote or saying or something that's very really impactful.
I mean, it's simple. I mean, everybody says it, but it means everything to me. Is just keep God first. And the reason why I say that is because like you can use that for anything. Whether you're having success or you having failures, is keep God first. Because I think that that's what I was rooted in. That's how I was raised. So keeping God first is the ultimate thing you can do. Because it's not you're not gonna get too high, and when you feeling the low, you're gonna be picked up. So and that's with everything. Everything I do, no matter what I'm going through, I'm gonna keep God first. Try to keep God in everything I do.
Dope.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Awesome. So you got 24-second shot clock. Tell the people whatever you want. That's your camera. Let them know you could, give them some life advice from you, or just where to find you. I think you already did that, but anything you want. You got a 24-second shot clock.
All right. Well, I just want to encourage everybody out there. Keep working hard. Keep going after your goals. Keep going after your dreams. Put away all negativity. Put away all negativity. Always think positive. Not everybody's going to cheer for you. Cheer for yourself. Cheer for yourself each and every day, no matter what you're going through, and just keep going. Keep pushing. If you ever want to speak to me or reach me, like I said earlier, you can reach me on IG, Coach C Bell, as well on Instagram. As well as on Twitter, Coach C Bell, and then my TikTok, Time Out with Chad Bell.
Perfect. Man, thanks for coming on the show, man.
Thanks for having me. Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.